South Korea's National Pension Reserve, the third largest public pension fund on Earth, is projected to be completely exhausted by the year 2055. That is not a worst-case scenario. That is the central estimate published by the South Korean government itself. At that moment, the fund would shift from drawing down reserves to relying entirely on that year's payroll contributions to cover that year's benefits. For a country with one of the fastest aging populations in the developed world, the math becomes brutal very quickly. The question is not whether this is coming. The question is what a society does when the numbers simply do not add up. Korea's National Pension Service manages assets worth roughly 1,030 trillion South Korean won, approximately 770 billion US dollars as of recent reporting. That makes it the third largest public pension fund in the world, behind only Japan's GPIF and Norway's government pension fund. Yet the fund's own actuarial projections, most recently updated in 2023, show reserves peaking around 2039 before entering a sustained drawdown. Korea's total fertility rate fell to 0.72 in 2023, the lowest ever recorded for any country, according to Statistics Korea. By 2050, the OECD projects that nearly 4 in 10 South Koreans will be over the age of 65. Today, fewer than 3 active workers support each retiree. By mid-century, that ratio is expected to fall toward 1-to-1. Korea industrialized at extraordinary speed across the 1960s through 1980s, and its pension system was built to match that era. A young, growing workforce paying into a fund that would serve a much smaller retiree population. The scheme launched in 1988 and initially promised generous benefits at a relatively low contribution rate. That generosity was politically popular, but actuarially precarious. As the economy matured, birth rates collapsed, driven by extreme housing costs, one of the world's most intense private education cultures, and long working hours that made raising children prohibitively expensive, particularly for women. The demographic base that the pension assumed never materialized. Reforms in 2007 reduced the income replacement rate from 60% to 40% over time, but they left the contribution rate, currently 9% of wages, far below the OECD average of roughly 18%. The system was patched, not rebuilt. Korea's parliament passed a pension reform bill in 2024, raising the contribution rate to 13% and adjusting benefit levels, the most significant change in nearly 2 decades. But analysts at the Korea Development Institute noted that even with this reform, depletion is only delayed by roughly a decade, not prevented. The burden falls unevenly. Young Koreans entering the workforce today will pay more and receive less than the generation they are supporting. That perception is already measurable. Surveys cited by the Bank of Korea show declining trust in the pension system among workers under 40. Without parallel reforms to fertility, immigration, or the retirement age, the structural gap persists, and the fiscal alternative, covering shortfalls through general taxation, would require government spending increases that Korea's finance ministry has described as very challenging given existing pressures. Korea is not an outlier, it is a leading indicator. Japan, China, Italy, Spain, and Germany all face versions of the same demographic arithmetic: aging populations, shrinking workforces, and pension systems designed for a world that no longer exists. What distinguishes Korea is the speed and the severity. Its fertility decline happened faster than anywhere else on record, which compresses the timeline for policy response. The universal pattern is this: pension systems built during demographic booms become liabilities during demographic busts, and the political will to reform them arrives later than the actuarial need demands. The countries watching Korea now have a window their predecessors did not. They can see the destination before they arrive. The question is whether seeing it is enough.